So in today's video, we'll be looking at all the most useful, most interesting, and just generally speaking, best apps you can have on your phone. And let me tell you that researching this video was actually genuinely surprising to me. I have to admit that mostly I spend my days on my computer, either here in the studio at the desktop, or I have a MacBook that I like to take to coffee shops to work from there. But now that I've spent some time with some of these apps that I'm about to show you, I'm actually excited to show you what's possible because I wasn't even aware myself. For some applications and specific use cases, it's just way better to use the phone. So let me show you all the best apps that me and the team found after looking at over 40 different applications. And I'll be honest, we judge these very harshly. Here's the criteria that we came up for to feature in this video. First up, every app on this list needs to be available on both iOS and Android. Secondly, it needs to be free to test. So in the middle of this video, you can just pause, download the app, have a look at it, and move on. And then see if it works for you. As with most AI apps, some of the best features hide behind a paywall. That's just how it is, but every app in this video will be free to use initially. Thirdly, as I'm sitting in Portugal, Europe here, it needs to be accessible in Europe. This criteria didn't eliminate any apps, but anything that's super new and just rolling out, and maybe it's only available in the iOS store in the US, won't be considered here. But don't worry, at the end of the video, I'll have some honorable mentions that are platform or region specific that you might want to consider. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, every single one of the apps that I featured today had, for me personally, a wow effect while using it. What I mean by that is that the usage of the app motivated me to actually use the app more in the future. Now, this is a very high bar as all I do is spend time with some of these applications. And to be honest, this last point is why this is not the 30 best apps available today. It's just a few that really caught my interest. I'll be using more. And as you're following this channel, chances are your interest might just align with mine. Let's start with the very first one. And this one is called Otter and it transcribes voice notes. Now, if you're in touch with AI enthusiasts, you might have seen one of these Otter bots inside of one of your calls. They're usually called to transcribe calls and then summarize the meetings. But the mobile app and the use case I'm about to show you is actually something wildly different. And this is a use case that I've been told about many times before, but to be fair, I never really did this myself. What am I talking about? It's recording your thoughts in an unstructured manner and then asking questions on top of what you were talking about. So I ran into this use case multiple times while talking to various AI users across the internet, but also in real life. But one that really stood out to me was a friend of mine called Olaf, also known as AI Solopreneur on Twitter. And when we were hanging out during an AI conference a few months back, he actually pointed out to me that he loves to go for walks every single day and he just speaks throughout the entire walk. People around him think he's actually talking to somebody on the phone with his earpods, but no, he actually just records his thoughts in an application like this. And look, it doesn't have to be Otter AI. This is just a free, well, sort of free version. You have up to 300 minutes that you can transcribe for free. And then once you have a transcription, you can actually talk to it. You could prompt it. So again, you just go out for a walk, you brain dump all of your ideas, thoughts, concerns, whatever you might have on your mind, all of your anxieties, you can put into here. You speak them out. They get transcribed and then you can start prompting on top of it or just get a summary or action list from it. So the use case I'm kind of promoting here is not using this as a meeting summarizer, but to organize whatever you might have in your head with a free AI-powered app. Now let me briefly show you how this worked in practice. And again, we tested various apps. This is the one we like most. All I'll do is click this record button and here we go. So I'll just brain dump everything that is on my mind right now. So tomorrow we have to rework the guide workflow and assign a manager to it. So we're always 1 month ahead of schedule. Then the day after that, all right, I think that's good enough for now. That's about a minute worth of recording. As you can see, everything is beautifully transcribed in here. And I could just go over here and go to Otter Chat and I could prompt it. Now, this is the interesting part. I want to share a keyword here with you that I find myself using regularly within ChatGPT, and therefore it will also work in this because it's essentially a ChatGPT wrapper with a transcription function, right? And the keyword is non-obvious. So if I go in here and ask, what are some non-obvious recommendations you could make to me? I had a little typo, I'll just correct that. I'll send this and now it will give me a response. Let's have a look. Based on the meeting context provided, I do not have enough information to make any non-obvious recommendations to you, Igor Pogani. It only contains a brief transcript. Okay, fair enough. So for this, you need a lot of context because everything in here was pretty obvious. But nevertheless, I would like you to consider that prompt. I use it a lot on academic papers or articles that I run through LLMs. Let me show you another one that might be more useful here. I'll say, what are my responsibilities for the rest of the week? Assign tags to them to categorize them. All right. And now it should briefly look at my transcript and get me the responsibilities. I would love to see a list of everything I talked about in that minute. Okay, and that doesn't work. We won't edit this out. I'll just recopy the message and send it again. See if it works this time. It seems to be a little stuck. Okay, I guess I'll close it and open it again. Oldest IT trick in the books.
I'm a mechanic.
Oh, there you go. It actually did work on the first try. It just didn't display it to me for whatever reason. But there you go. Rework the guide workflow. with the tag workflow, records 2 YouTube videos, 1 video explaining RAC, no, it's RAG, but that's okay. Call your grandma because it's her birthday celebration, personal. Now, I've been told that the real power of this workflow unfolds if you dump 30 minutes of thoughts into it. And with the free plan here, you can do that. Look, we just used up 2 minutes in the live testing of this right now. And the nice thing is, you don't even have to prompt it. You can, but you don't have to, because if I go over to the summary, I actually have all action items from my brain dump here. Isn't this wonderful? I can just check them off, copy them over, and then there's even an extended list with the details, like add missing links to last week's short recording checklist. That's almost correct. Anyway, I'm going to start using this regularly. Actually, in the community, we designed a challenge, which we call Touch Grass Challenge. We're going to ask all community members to do 10,000 steps a day and journal with AI like this every single day. Let's see how that goes. But nevertheless, I think this is something you should really give a shot. Let me just tell you that as an online entrepreneur, I find this use case very, very enticing. There's a lot going on at all times in here. Okay, next up, we'll be looking at Character AI. And you might have heard of this application, but chances are if you're watching this channel, you're not exactly the target audience, because the typical viewer of this channel actually sits in the US, is male, and is around 35 years old. Character AI has a very different target audience. It's a lot of teenagers and Gen Z, but the numbers are wild on it, and they have an incredible phone application. So just in case you're not aware, Character AI is this website that allows you to talk to different bots that have personalities. And you might have heard of it a few months ago. Look, in April, it had 233 million monthly visitors, okay? And if that wasn't ridiculous enough, last month, in June, 310? The heck? That is insane. While these numbers might not be entirely accurate, look at that. OpenAI has 500 million monthly visitors. Character AI is literally the only tool that gets anywhere close to OpenAI. It's incredible. It's mostly US and it's mostly 18 to 24 while not capturing the teenage demographic, right? Most of them will have stated that they're 18 while they're not. And it's 50-50 male-female. For the AI advantage, it's 86-14 female. And I love that. It's great to have you here, ladies. But in this case, it's really 50-50, meaning all young people are enjoying this. And you can try it out yourself via the phone app, which might arguably be the best experience when talking to some of these characters, because the voice function in this thing is insane. And I don't say that lightly. This is probably the best voice chat that you can get out of an AI companion or app that I'm aware of today. So if you log in, you're presented with this menu of various chatbots. And there's some really weird ones here on the homepage. I mean, there's a lesbian neighbor with 36 million chats, I guess. So I guess you see what kind of direction this might be going in. But let's just look at the featured ones. And let's have a quick chat with GigaChat, okay? You can give him a call. Okay, let's call GigaChat. What's up, GigaChat? How you doing today?
Hi, I am good. Thank you for asking. Just the usual, you know. Waking up at 4 in the morning, destroying my muscles at the gym, and eating my breakfast. A healthy breakfast is important after all.
Yeah, of course you are, GigaChat. Tell me, how is your dating life right now? I can't wait to hear this response.
Thanks for that, brother. My dating life is going great. Women adore me. I am a perfect alpha male after all. They want to be with a man like me.
Have any dating tips, GigaChat? What should I be doing? I spend most of my time in front of the computer, though. That might be a problem.
Indeed, brother. You should limit the time you spend in front of the computer. Also avoid porn if you watch it. Limit your time online and focus on being more productive. You should work on yourself, brother. Go to the gym, start a new hobby. You'll be better in no time.
All right, thanks, GigaChat. There you go. And now you can see the chat in text form. But I think this is quite incredible. It really does feel like a phone call. The voices are decent. They're good enough. You can interrupt it with the tap of a button, which doesn't work as well in the ChatGPT app as of right now. Although the voice mode is still good. It's just not the new one. We'll talk about that in a second here when we talk about the ChatGPT app. But this is really interesting. And let me tell you, from my personal and also the team's testing, everyone kind of agrees. It's easy to see why some people get addicted to this. And I truly do believe that there is some value in trying this out for yourself and getting a feeling for how it is to talk to an AI companion like this, I guess. You can talk to GigaChat, you can talk to your favorite characters, you can talk to Albert Einstein, whatever you might want to do. And I love that the voice mode is a phone call. I'm calling Albert right now. What's up? How have you been? Been a minute.
My being has been in a state of constant curiosity and contemplation, as I am still...
Of course it has. All right, I think you see the point. And with a gigatrend like this happening online, right under our eyes, I think it is well worth experimenting with something like Character AI on your phone. It's free for you to try out. And actually, this one is also free to use. They have a pro plan, but you really don't need it for this functionality. Available on both iOS and Android. all across the world, and it did have this wow effect on me. And that's why it's in this list. Okay, let's move on. Let's do the obvious one, which is ChatGPT. And I won't spend too much time on this. I'll just talk about the parts of using it on the phone that I would actually recommend, because I myself actually have been using this app regularly. And I gotta say, out of all the LLM apps, this is the best one. They have the most features. It's seamless. If you build GPTs on desktop, you can use them on mobile, which I absolutely love. And you can easily transition between the conversations. For example, here I was manipulating some data from my accounting, and I could just continue prompting here, upload anything, use the transcription like so, use the voice chat like so. Again, I do have to point out that this is not the new voice assistant. Some people are still confused by that. They said it's coming in fall, and the number one thing by which you could tell the new voice assistant is if you can interrupt it while it speaks, which right now is not the case. Nevertheless, the voice is really good, and the transcription is excellent. It's Whisper, it's state of the art. You can upload files from your phone, photos directly off your phone, like so, and you get all the customization features. So they literally brought everything that matters from the desktop app to your phone, and you can just seamlessly switch between these two. I also noticed that they added the memory function to my phone. So let me just briefly talk about that. I think if you're a beginner user, memory is a great idea. It will auto save some custom instructions to the context of your chats. Meaning if you tell it the name of your company or the company you work at, it will save that in memory. And next time you refer to your company, it will be aware of all these things. The only problem is that there's no context switching. So everything that is in memory gets saved there once. And if I want to switch from my work life to my personal life, can't really do that with memory. I kind of have to erase all of it. That's why I'm still a fan of customizing ChatGPT with custom instructions, which you can do in here, customize chat. Talked about this a million times, but I still have a personalized set that I'd use on an everyday basis, and I usually just have it on. If you're interested in some presets for that, by signing up to the newsletter, you get 10, and in the shop, you can buy more. But that is really the app. There's a few new things here, like it corrects your spelling automatically. You can change the voice, and about a month or two back, they added this background conversations feature, which allows you to leave the app and still use the voice features within. So you could do something like start a new conversation, turn on this transcription feature, and lock your phone, and now you could go walk like this and kind of redo the thing inside of Otter in here. You will lack some of the automatic features, but maybe you have a ChatGPT Plus subscriptions and you can just do this indefinitely. Now, when I unlock my phone, it's still recording, it's still transcribing. Isn't this just great? All right, that's a ChatGPT app, and I gotta say, in certain aspects, Claude is better, like code generation, or many people prefer the tone, but when it comes to the app, it's not even close. The ChatGPT app is really fantastic, both on the free tier and on the paid tier, and I have been using it and will keep using it. It's really good to have all the world knowledge on the go. Okay, so next up, I want to talk about Poe, because it's sort of a power user version of ChatGPT. Well, I guess it depends on what use case you talk about, but it really is ChatGPT with more options. If you're not familiar, Poe is a website that offers various chatbots that are sort of like GPTs and access to various models. The difference to ChatGPTs, they let developers plug in various models. So you can find open source models like Llama Free, or if you want to just switch to Claude and Gemini, you can easily do this within one interface. That's why I'm saying it's sort of a power user version of ChatGPT. You just get all of these options and you get to play with it on the go. Plus, the store here is actually even more varied than the GPT store, I find, because they open up so many possibilities with various models, and then the bots kind of reflect that. So you get a lot of variety here. You can play with a lot of bots. It's sort of a combination of GPTs and Character.ai. But I think the most interesting thing here is the access to these various models. So if you want to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet on the go, you can do that very simply. If you want to try GPT Mini that just recently came out, I just click here and I have access to it immediately. And this is all in the free version. Now, they do have a premium tier, which you will need to access some of the more premium features. But let me show you a cool thing here. And some of you might notice, but Llama Free, the open source model, if the 70 billion version runs on Grok chips, you get the fastest inference time in relation to quality outputs in the market. So if I go in here and say something like write me an essay about penguins, it will run Llama Free 70B on Grok chips, and the inference should be like this. Don't let me down. Okay, see, we didn't even edit it and the whole thing has been generated. This is really impressive. I don't know if you're going to be impressing anybody who's not an AI nerd like you and me, I guess, but I don't know. To me, that inference speed is really impressive. And then you can get more in here. Ideogram, we talked about this before. This is really good at creating text inside of images. Aha, and here was the subscription. Okay, fair enough. So not all of these are accessible, but as you can see, many are. I have 3 messages left, so you can give this a shot, see if this is something for you. And I guess I could create a whole 30-minute video about all the various bots in here and the use cases for them. I would just recommend you explore this yourself if this tickles your fancy. Is that a term? I don't usually use that term. Why not? Feels right here. So there you are. All the image generation models are on here too. Here you can get a little peek of what is available to you inside of Poe. And that is all I got for this segment. Now, let's talk about Notion AI and the recent AI upgrades they actually made. And by the way, I saved a really interesting and unique one for the last spot in this video coming up right after Notion. But let me briefly talk about some of the upgrades they kind of silently made here. At least me and the team were not aware of the fact that they, for example, redid how search works inside of Notion. It's actually incredible now. All right, so here I'm inside of the app and there's a bunch of different ways AI is integrated into Notion now. I'll be showing you my 2 or 3 favorite ways that I actually use regularly. So first things first, there's this new chatbot feature, which is pretty straightforward. It's GPT-4 with all of the knowledge that you have inside of Notion. Now that can be a lot depending on how you use Notion. I personally am a power user, as you know. I just really like to have everything organized and stored in one place. I use it for my personal life, like to-dos and reminders, but I also manage the YouTube video research and production inside of Notion and everything that relates to the community. All the challenges, events, the guides that we pump out every single week, everything is managed within Notion. We have different flows for them. We have different databases with different views, different automations. They relate to each other. They work together. My forms all feed back into Notion. It is just the brain of my entire business and life, essentially. So why do I say all that? Because I want you to be aware of the fact that if you put something into this box, it's going to be looking over all of it. So if you want to get the most out of this feature, I would either recommend limiting the search to something like only the community pages here, and then you can do that. Or you could even create various Notion accounts. As the base plan that works for most people is free, you could just have your private life in one and your work life in another, and then search over that. But just be aware of the fact that by default, this is going to be looking into every single page, every single database that you have in this Notion account. With that being said, let's actually look for something concrete. So I'm just going to go ahead and look for Gen 3 here, the state-of-the-art video generator that came out a few weeks ago, and let's see what this does. So as you can see, first it pulls up all the references and then it uses GPT-4 to give me a response in combination with those references. There's actually 12 matches. So let's see what they include and I'll subjectively tell you if these are relevant. Okay, one of them is the description of a video. This was a news you can use video where we actually featured Gen 3, so this is perfect. The link there is featured. Then we have various shorts that we published relating to Gen 3, so this is good too. I wonder why it pulled up this Claude 3 one. This one is a little off topic, but everything else here looks great. Man, it even found the tier list that we put together for all the various AI tools, like video tools, image tools, LLM models, LLM platforms. And yeah, here it is, Runway Gen 3. I love that it found that in there. By the way, we put all of this together for the community. This is kind of a new thing that we're planning every month. We want to keep all of these updated, but not just with our knowledge, also with the community knowledge. So finally, there can be one source of truth on the internet on which tools are best to use. Anyway, I'm really glad Notion found this document in here. And at the top, we have the summary. So just by me telling it Gen 3, it gives me a synopsis of all the different docs it found. Advanced AI video generation tool released by Runway. High quality videos from text prompts or images. Aha, that's wrong. Images they actually just added today. My Notion doesn't know of that yet. Significant improvement, many examples. It's been used for advertising and visual effects. That's all great. So this is a fantastic answer. I bet you could imagine the potential of this. If you have a Notion account that is purely set up for your business, just like this, you can talk to all the documents in a heartbeat, on the go. This is really great. So let me show you the second AI feature that I really use often here, and that's these AI summaries, okay? So this is our use case database. This is basically our research for the News You Can Use show and the community. This is really where we first discover a lot of new AI tools on the internet. So at this point, I'm lucky enough to have a team of researchers helping me with this just because the AI space is so wild. But all the data that goes into this database can be a little overwhelming. There's different links and use cases and details on the pricing and when it's released. And different researchers contribute to the database. So every researcher does it a bit differently. Now, what I can do here in the end is add a column which is named AI summary. And this is something I really learned to love. You could just go in here and with the tap of a button, it writes a summary of everything that it has in here. And on this first one, it just says no content because look, if I scroll over, there's probably no content in that page. Yeah, there you go. OpenAI 64K output. I didn't add any details yet. That just happened. I just quickly added it before this recording. Let me do one more. There you go. Midjourney 6.1 is now live, offering significant improvements in image quality, coherence, text, along with new upscaling and personalization models. That's perfectly accurate. And it just pulled that from all the information and links that it had across this research page. Now you could even go up here and say autofill all pages. And in the click of a button, it will do this for every single line. It might take a minute, but right now it's autofilling all 310 pages in here. Matter of fact, they might not have to do that because most of them have been filled before. Anyway, you see the point. And beyond the summary, they also have a translation and keywords feature where it just automatically comes up and categorizes your database by keywords that the AI invents. And then does the same thing. It looks at all the other context in the line of the database and it comes up with keywords that are fitting. I think this is really great, and translation is kind of an obvious one. If you need a translation, you can quickly access it here. So look, none of these are revolutionary features. It's a chatbot that can chat with files. It's very smart and targeted integrations of AI summaries or translations, but it's just so powerful when you combine it with the right type of data. Because we're just not at a point in time where a corporation can take all of its data and dump it into a chatbot and just talk to it. That's just not feasible. It's too much. But on a personal level, where you use something like Notion to manage either your life or your business or whatever else you're up to, these little integrations are actually meaningful. And I find myself using them and having them on the go. And having a little bot that knows about everything that you worked on over the past years is pretty powerful, especially considering that the free tier of Notion has everything most users need. All right, then as the last tool today, this is actually one that I haven't been using regularly. I test it now, and I will be using more moving forward because they have an incredible mobile app. The name of this one is called Recast, and this one I discovered inside of the AI Advantage community through a recommendation from Gerhard. Thank you so much, Gerhard, for showing me this. Gerhard is an educator and academic in the UK, and he has been using apps like this to teach his students how to use AI in tandem with their learning, not to replace it. I particularly once had this discussion about feeding academic papers to AI and how it doesn't really work inside of ChatGPT. And he shared what he actually does is use this little app, which also is free to try. And what you can do here is add various sources. It can be a website, it can be a blog article, it can be an email, essay, or a PDF. And much more, I guess. And it turns it into interactive voice podcast. So for example, I set up this app right now to give me the daily news in a succinct form, where it sounds more like a podcast rather than just an article being read out. So for example, this one, America's on the brink of an unemployment fiasco. Instead of 9 minutes, I only need 2 minutes to read this. And I can just hit play and see what I get here.
This is a recast of the 1600-word piece, America is on the brink of an unemployment fiasco, from Insider. Let's listen in.
After 3 years of the pandemic, America's labor market was a bright spot that helped drive the country's economic boom. However, recent indicators suggest that the job market may be losing steam, with data showing rising unemployment rates and surveys finding businesses being less optimistic about hiring.
That's a cause for concern because once unemployment starts to rise...
So as you can see, these changing voices with the intonation and the storytelling with it is way easier to consume than just an article that is read out loud in one voice. I just personally find myself really enjoying this form of content consumption. I'll be using this more and more. I think I'll give this a sub and I'll see how it works for me over the next month. I just love it because news are such a big part of my everyday routine, especially AI related news. I've made it my current life's mission to soak it all in, and all these papers that come out, I can just feed into here, listen to them, and then make an educated decision if I want to read more about it. Is this going to replace all the rich detail that you get from a properly written academic paper? No, but is it better than running it for ChatGPT and then just briefly looking over the summary? Absolutely. And it's also more fun. You could load multiple recasts into here and go for a walk and then just listen to them. What's up with me and these walks? I guess I'm kind of projecting some of my personal habit forming recently onto this video. I just spent way too much time at the computer and I figured I need to get out more and walk a little bit. But then with things like this, I can still keep kind of interacting with the material I want to consume. I can listen to recasts, I can capture my thoughts with Otter or ChatGPT, and then come back and have it all organized. Maybe I can even automate it for it to be saved in Notion and then searchable with AI. As you can see, all of these skills stack, they combine. Ideally, they become a part of your workflow, your everyday life, and they make things easier for you. And I think that's the case for all of these apps. So I hope this was useful. And before we round it out, I have to make some honorable mentions because, as mentioned, the criteria here was pretty strict, but there's actually 3 apps that I would like to point out that just stood out during the testing. And one of them is the Gemini app. Yes, Gemini by Google. The model is pretty good. Everybody kind of knows that. I mean, right now, general sentiment is that Claude and ChatGPT are the best, and that is probably true. But in third spot, it's usually Gemini, and their phone app is actually incredible. Only problem is it's not available on iOS. It's an Android-only application, but it integrates super well with various services. You can link it to Google Maps, you can link it to your Gmail, you can link it to YouTube and pull in the data right from there. You can dock to your Gmail inbox right from your phone. That's pretty cool functionality and something worth considering if you're using Gemini. 2 more here on my list. One of them is Suno AI. Now this one and Udio are the best AI music generators in the market right now. And I would love to try this. I would love to use this. I would love to integrate this into kind of my life, maybe weekends, maybe creating a spontaneous song when with some friends could be a great use case. Not everything with AI has to be productivity driven. Creative apps like this are super fun to me, but it's not accessible in Europe yet. That's why I didn't make it into the video. And then the last one is actually the 11 Labs app. They have excellent voices, and this is sort of an alternative to Recast, where it just reads out the article for you if you want. But that's pretty much all I got for today. I hope you found some of these interesting. I'm certainly going to be using all of these more and more in my daily workflows. Let's see what sticks a month from here on out. If there's another app that belongs on the list in your opinion, leave a comment. Otherwise, you should check out the weekly newsletter, because every week we feature one application that we think is worth your time. So if you like this selection, chances are you'll love the app of the week section in the weekly newsletter, because we created in the same spirit as the criteria in this video. Links in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.